Hello, I'm Philip Stoten. I'm here at Apex 2019 and I'm on the SCOOPstudio. I'm joined by Bill Cardoso from Creative Electron and Michael Ford from Aegis to discuss the topic of counterfeit and conflict materials. Michael, we spoke earlier and you talked about the huge number of potentially counterfeit components in military electronics, for example. There's some shocking statistics out there with respect to counterfeits. Are we doing enough? Is there enough being done, or is this problem completely out of control at the moment?
There are two definitions. Doing enough would be to prevent counterfeits getting into finished products, and inspection techniques like with X-ray. This is something that's almost mandatory these days if you're going to be sure that you've got actually operating devices. However, that does nothing in isolation to prevent the flow of counterfeit, where these guys are continuously getting money from people and not being found out. There's no policing, if you like, back to the source. So the second thing has to start immediately, which is to provide a mechanism through traceability from the shop floor all the way back to the original supplier to discover at what point during the journey the counterfeit was made and to hold that person responsible at that point.
Yeah, and I think when I look at the whole counterfeit thing, and that's why I love having both of you guys on this panel, one challenge is the supply chain and having traceability and accountability in that supply chain, and the other is detection. And what I think is interesting is we're seeing some really ingredient technologies coming into both of those from a detection point of view, AI, and from a supply chain point of view, also AI, but things like blockchain as well. Talk to me a little bit about the way AI can actually accelerate the inspection process and can help us find those counterfeits.
So from an inspection perspective, AI gives you an extra layer of intelligence, if you will, to replace the operator or a human being that would have to make a judgment if a component is. You can never say if a component is authentic at the inspection level, unless you have full traceability going back to, you have the whole supply chain. But at the inspection level, you can rule out if it's a counterfeit or not, right? Or if it's a counterfeit, you can say, to the best of your knowledge, it's not. And in most cases, you still need a human being to make the judgment. And AI and some of the tools that we've been developing are helping replace or augment the efficiency of that operator. Yeah. So until we, as we work towards artificial intelligence, we've been working hard on augmented intelligence. So on operator assist set of tools to make their job easier and more efficient.
And that's looking at maybe a reel of components in an X-ray situation and saying,
correct,
some of these look different to the others and there should be a reason for that.
Correct.
And then it's a question of digging deeper, I guess.
Exactly, yeah. So in our parts counter, for example, we have a side view of the components. We can do a lot homogeneity. So if all the components inside that reel look the same, it doesn't mean that they are authentic, but it's a good sign. They're all the same. And if some differences are detected, then we can take that reel of components and bring to secondary inspection, where you have to open the reel and do a one by one by one. Yeah. But like Michael was saying, same applications, you have to do it anyway. Yeah. You can't get away without looking at every component. And X-ray is one of the layers of inspection that have to be applied.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you have to fuse that data at the next level and create value for that. And part of the reason it's important in reels is that counterfeiters aren't beyond putting 50 or 30 good components at the end of a fake reel. So that's essential. We need to create some security in the blockchain. In the supply chain. Is blockchain the solution to do that, or is it one of many?
I would think it's one of what is going to be many. In that, as long as you have a distributed ledger of some form, anti-tampering of some form within there, it may be enough. We need to really find a solution that's practical. If you consider the sheer volume of transactions that are likely to be done, should the world adopt a secure system, which I certainly hope it does at some point. So it needs to be down to earth, it needs to be practical. And so blockchain is an excellent representation of how it can be done. Whether it should be done in every case that way remains to be seen.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We talked at length about the way data is used in the manufacturing process, but one of the things that always comes out of that is the veracity of the data is absolutely fundamental. If you don't have good data, you just don't have a usable currency, and that's true of the supply chain. It's something that the IPC are starting to get on board with and starting to get involved. Tell me a bit about the committee and the discussions that have happened this week.
Yeah, we've had two kind of directions. One is the traceability in the supply chain. The other is the connected factory exchange. So, for example, from Bill's machine, you get a huge wealth of data, and you can use that for many different purposes concurrently. But that data can also be sent out using connected factory and stored into a form of permanent product build record. You're starting to then accumulate knowledge and information such that, the layer on which decisions are made, like to find counterfeits, is one layer. And then the next layer may be quality control, which is done at a factory, seeing the whole of the operations that are done. And so the idea of the combination of these digital standards within the digital factory to enable more value from the sum of them than the individual components, that's been a key theme of what we've been talking about this week.
Yeah, and I think that's really exciting, Bill, when you think about that the data that you take in as an X-ray of a component that is known to be good can become part of the verification, can become part of the blockchain distributed ledger for that device, and then the next time that device is seen, if that's a reliable image, I'm imagining that you can do a comparison.
Exactly. So at that level, once we have traceability and we can follow those components within the from supply chain inside the factory and within the factory, then we can greatly augment our ability to keep counterfeits out of the equation. But that's and when we talk about inspection for counterfeit detection and material management in general, I think CFX and these other standards that are being developed right now to enable the digital factory, they're going to be tremendous, right? I mean, it's what I see is the world of inspection growing as data is not going to be now stored in a box at the end of the line that no one really looks at, but it's actually going to bubble up in the digital factory to become really important asset, and as you call it, currency, right? That we can now use to make the factory better as time goes by. So it's like a machine learning for the factory, right? Yeah. So bubbles from the individual box that we have to the overall factory. Yeah. It's exciting times.
Yeah. It is exciting times, and there's lots of positives out of it. This counterfeit problem isn't going to go away. It's too attractive and too profitable, I guess, for it to go away. But everything we can do to make it as difficult as possible and actually trace where that counterfeit has come from, if we do have good supply chain management, is going to help police and prevent. Guys, thanks very much for stopping by. Always a pleasure to chat. Just a couple of hours of the show left, so enjoy those. Get round and see what you haven't seen, and we'll talk again soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil.